This here is one of many cola species. Colas are edible in the cacao family, and not all of them are delicious, but it seems like they're all edible. This particular one was found in the Limbay Botanical Garden in the west coast of Cameroon, and that region was having some civil war. Actually, the French and the English were fighting, so we didn't stay there very long. It was kind of an in and out situation, but we got to see this as well as many others in that park, which was great. There's Telfaria occidentalis. It's a squash relative from the jungle of Cameroon, and there's about 3 Telfaria species in Africa. I believe this is the largest, also known as the queen's nut or oyster nut. It was prized by the queen, one of the queens, I suppose, in Europe at some point, and supposedly very delicious. I didn't get to try the nut, but it's a big one. That was a small one, actually. The bigger one was more like that. So really big seeds too. Yeah, supposedly really delicious seeds. I'm sure I'll try it at some point. This is canistel or egg fruit, a variety, and it was actually brought by a couple. It was found at a market in Cameroon, but it was actually, the species was brought there. It's native to Mexico, but the species was brought there at least 25 years ago by a couple of Americans who moved in to Africa and brought some, fruit collectors. They brought some plants with them. I'm not even sure what that is. It was found in also in Limbay Park. Here's the same cola from the first picture. Cola seeds are high in caffeine, many species, and the original recipe of Coca-Cola was, coca from South America and cola from Africa, both highly stimulating plants. Put some sugar on that and give it to kids. Holy, wow. Can't even imagine the original recipe, its potency. This is one of at least 50 Landolphia species related to the Willoughbyas of Borneo. Most of the ones we had there were quite sour, very sour. One of which was extremely sour to the point where when it started to dry, you would get just pure vitamin C crystals just forming on the fruit. This one was actually the sweetest, this particular one, and it had more of a rich flavor because of those orange pigments. This was my favorite.
Do they grow as vines?
They're all vines, yeah, and you tell by the white latex when the vines cut.
Cool.
Cacao from Central America, it's all over the world. Most of the world's cacao actually is grown in Africa. Africa has the largest, the greatest amount of tropical zone in the planet. So that's the main reason cacao is grown there. It's an ultra tropical plant. What's known as the African sausage fruit. It's about as hard as wood. Not something you'd want to eat, but maybe some megafauna would chew on it. There's an expose of at least a few, 3 or 4 Landolphia species, the bottom of which was the most sour, extremely sour. The middle one had more of a sweetness, which is my favorite. And the top one was kind of a medium tart, and kind of had a funkiness to it, which some people might like.
Did it have much flavor besides being sour? I mean, if you think of passion fruit, for example,
Yeah.
it has sourness, but also all those flavors. So
Yeah,
if you,
they're all flavorful their own way, and I imagine especially the very sour ones would be best for like a drink, like an acqua fresca.
Cool.
Dicroides macrophylla here, probably one of the best fruits of the trip as far as taste. I mean, just exquisite. I mean, the texture, the lack of resin, there's nothing nasty about it. It's just like succulent and very sweet, not too sweet, like blackberry jam, but better, something like that. It's well wanted around the world, but seeds are delicate, so hard to get them there.
and this one is tropical too, right?
Where'd you find it?
Oh, this is Cameroon, just as across the border of Gabon to Cameroon, we started seeing it. There's another Landolphia, the one that was in the top picture. You can see all that latex bubbling on the ends there. I mean, it's extremely sticky stuff, on your hands, and that kind of latex would prevent any insects or small animals from getting into the fruit. I mean, plants are so intelligent in the fruits that they make, really. It's basically designed for a large animal to eat. An animal big enough to swallow the seed whole and carry it quite a distance. Totally not accessible to anything small, which is perfect for seed dissemination. Here is an interesting fruit. I know there's some strains grown in Hawaii, and Nauclea latifolia is the name. Some people call it strawberry, whatever. It's, I guess, to compare it to something vaguely like strawberry in the flavor, but pretty unique, lots of little tiny seeds. You can barely see them. Kind of a tough texture, but kind of dry yet juicy. Hard to describe, but the monkeys seem to like them. You find big bites taken out of them.
So look juicy.
Yeah, there's at least 3 species that we found.
And the yellow ones were the tastiest ones, you said?
Yeah, that's coming up.
Okay.
There's another cacao. We're all familiar with chocolate. Landolphia. It's just such a weird look to it. It was probably the off-putting in a way, like organ animal something.
And it wasn't overripe, right? This brown color was, that's how it's...
That's the way it was. They're just interesting. There's like I said, over 50 species, and they're just really poorly studied. And they're extremely difficult to collect. Often 300-foot vines at the top of 150-foot trees. It's just ridiculous even trying to get them. We would hire, we'd pay the locals, like $4 in our currency, which is a lot to them, to climb these freaking things. They're like, let's go. $4? Oh yeah. They went up those things. The Baka people, which were like, 4.5 feet on average, they're all for it. They just go right up and climb the vines for a couple of bucks risk their life. This was some cucurbit, really tiny thing. So excursion, so you just drive around and look for fruit in the garden. Don't really work that hard for it. A really interesting spice, Xylopia aethiopica. It's in the Ananaceae family. Incredible flavor and fragrance. The whole pod, the whole dried fruit is used as a spice, and it's just so, you just crush it, and it's just loaded with some kind of essential oil. It reminds me of clove and nutmeg. It's just really so delicious smelling, and I can't even imagine it incorporated in food. You know, those early spice traders that traveled the world looking for new spices. This is one they didn't really discover, and they didn't really didn't become mainstream like black pepper or anything else. But I think it has great potential. You know, it's really enticing spice. There's another Naphtali latifolia, and my favorite Philadelphia that was found. This one is another Naphtali species, Nauplea xanthoxylon, I believe. I compare this one with like creamy pineapple, not really with the tartness, but just to compare it to something. This is my favorite. I found it very delicious. This is more of a swamp-growing Nauplea, and the latifolia was more in the open savannas. So they have different kind of habits that they like to grow in. But yeah, the local villagers, I mean, they just brought back, 50, 100 buckets of these things, and we told them that, we're interested.